Welcome back, everyone. The StarLadder and iLeague StarSeries Season 3 Last Chance Qualifier. Match number 2 between Xixo and Zalae. We just saw Colento get eliminated by Tice, his nemesis. And now Colento's in the loser's bracket waiting for a chance to play a second match to perhaps get himself all the way back up. And in the meantime, Tice is sitting comfortably waiting for Zalae or Xixo to win and then face off against the winner of that match. Who do you expect is going to be having the edge there? Between Xixo and Zalae, they're both running extremely aggressive lineups.
I would say that Zalae might have a small edge, a really small edge, and I think it's actually, it's not even that conventional because of the fact that Xixo is still in China, right? He plays in a really weird hours. So we have seen that yesterday he was playing kind of off. He was not, well rested and so on. And this is something that actually takes a toll. And you can make mistakes or play not optimally because of that.
That's a good point. I really didn't consider that, but it is true that these online events tend to have very varied hours depending on the players. So Xixo might be feeling a little bit of the jet lag. He's been to China repeatedly. It's not his first rodeo, but it definitely still hits you just as hard. It feels every single time as you travel back and forth. On the lineup side, Xixo's on the mid-range Paladin with Pyromancers, which is something you don't tend to see every single day. We've seen a few of those in the events, and it's helped come back in, certain matchups against aggro specifically. If you get that Pyromancer equality turn on 4, you can just shut down a Druid. So those are going to be essential because Zalae is on the hyper aggro lineup. He's got his Murloc Paladin available. He's got his aggro Druid. He's got his Quest Rogue. He's got his Pirate Warrior. And on Xixo's side, while we have good matchups against Quest Rogue in some regards, it's not really going to be as good as Zalae's matchups are.
Wait, is Xixo on Planet Odd? I completely forgot.
Sorry?
Howie joined Planet Odd, right? Howie... Can't remember if Xixo joined the same team as Howie. I mean, I guess...
Oh, I'm not sure. I assume he did. Right? Usually they tend to, yeah. Yeah, usually anyway. Xixo and his teammates kind of move around together. Yeah, Planet Odd, I think, is the team that they have. I think Surrender joined as well, right? Surrender. I know Xixo's a very loyal guy, so whenever he manages to find himself, a new team, usually he brings along all the friends. In this case, that would in fact include Hoy and Surrender. So I think they're still together in Planet Odd. So I believe they are playing for that team indeed.
I mean, he has the T-shirt, so...
Yeah, could be he's just a fan of the team, man. You don't know. I've bought Tempo Storm swag, so, just gotta do it.
Did you use the code?
Oh, yeah, I used 5 codes. I had just premium rights on all the...
So you got 50%?
T-shirts. Oh, yeah, I got 50% on those sweet, sweet sweaters. Yeah, I haven't received them, though. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, well, that's sad. Anyway,
yeah,
from an ad to a disappointment. Anyway,
that went elevator mode really quick.
Yeah.
So
this escalated really badly.
Yeah. So Xixo here is, as we said, on the more mid-rangey lineup, he's playing Discover Mage. Yes, he's playing Aggro Druid, but Discover Mage, it's on Secret Mage that is already with Medivh, not Discover. And that deck, while being aggressive, also it suffers from lack of consistency. It's extremely explosive, but it's not very consistent. And Xixo's going to come out with the Rogue right away, knowing full well that Zalae's lineup is targeting it. So if you can't win with it, you just can't win anyway. So,
I guess he wants to just make sure that the Rogue will get just one good match as soon as possible, and then play, just right off the bat. I mean, I don't blame him.
Welcome to Conquest.
But this doesn't really look good for him. I mean,
Dolvier Stone Shaper is an interesting card. So we've seen more and more of this recently. Against Pirate Warrior, it is surprisingly effective as a card that's able to block off a ton of damage. The issue is that the timing of it often lines up in this case when you're first with the Arcanite Reaper. So you give the warrior the possibility of just blowing you out. So it's a timing that's clunky, especially when you don't have, of course, elementals in hand ready to be shot.
I would like to see the coin on Fear Warrax as turn, because usually the rogue just opens up with the hero power on turn 2, in most cases, right? And this is especially would be probably the case if you just go for the Zoth and Patches, since then Xixo has a way of killing both of them turn by turn, and that deals only 3 damage in the process, which is not that bad for Xixo. While if Zalae just goes turn 1 through War Axe, turn 2 the Raider, he most likely will squeeze way more damage with that because the rogue lacks removal.
That's a good point. The game will end a lot quicker. We have, I think, 2 players who are running backstabs in their quest rogue list, and I don't know that Xixo is one of them. I have not seen him play it, but I know that RDU had it in his lineup. I believe Zalae also included it, but I don't think I've seen Xixo include the backstabs.
Xixo has no removal.
Yep.
There's basically just Glacier Shards, and those are the MVPs, and 2 times Tolver.
Yeah, to be fair though, the Glacial Shard, if it is found here for Xixo, would be absolutely insane. As it is one of the cards that is going to help him catch up.
Yeah, I mean, with Shadow Step and with the Pandar and Brewmaster, he would be able to catch that Raider for 3 turns in a row, and that means 15 damage, so that's quite a lot, right? And that's one of the ways that Xixo can win a game, but now he's lacking that Glacier Shard, which is the key, and it's not looking great. He has no way of killing that Raider. That Raider goes to the face.
Yeah, it's going to connect repeatedly here, which is a problem for Xixo. Looks like Xixo's simply going to be on the quest plan. He's saying, you know what, I never win if I don't make 5/5s. Worst case scenario, what's great about next turn is I always get my Youthful Brewmaster anyway. So I can bounce the Firefly. So he's just all in trying to threaten the opponent, and he knows that he's setting up a good counter to the 5/3 in the form of the Tolvir Stone Shaper on the following round. Following turn, that is. So this
is... that's a good free drop. Okay, so this is 9 damage to the face. If you just go face with everything and play the Cultist. The bad thing is that Zalae knows that Xixo plays double Tolvir shapes Stone Shaper.
Stone Shaper.
Yeah,
nailed it.
Thank you very much. And that means if he plays a Tolvir and Xixo trades 2 of his minions or even 3 of his minions, those small pesky 1/2s, into the Raider, Zalae has no real good way of going through that Tolvir. He will soak insane amount of damage. Insane. Because the Divine Shield will most likely eat the weapon, or there's no patches like with the charge, right? He doesn't have the deck to attack into the Divine Shield. So it's definitely problematic if he will see that card. So he might think about killing one of those 1/2s here.
Yeah, I mean, if the rogue is forced to use her face to hit the 5/3 instead of using a 1/2, then that's the 5 damage you're getting to connect again anyway, right? So if they play the Tolvir, you always get at least the extra 5 that you didn't manage to find earlier in the game.
Man, that's the Glacier Shard. All right.
This might change the way you play this turn, but there's such a big problem with the Tolvir lining up well against the board, and then you almost just want to throw away all your minions into the 5/3 to prevent damage from pouring out. The problem is then you're losing your quest enablers. So maybe that's the Zalae's evaluation, is like, if he wants to throw these 3 guys in, be my guest. Your quest is going nowhere, and I just win the long game anyway.
That is a good point. Well, if you can play Glacier Shard and then bounce it and play it again, which is not bad, but at the same time, you would like to have that Glacier Shard in your hand. So if he gets a second bounce, that would be amazing.
It feels like Xixo's on the... We're going to bounce the Glacial Shard with the perfect draws game plan here. So good draws include Glacial Shard number 2, a Ferryman, another Shadow Step, a Youthful Brewmaster, Preparation. So there's a few cards in his deck that are very helpful, but they're not there yet. And at any moment, Xixo picks up a blank. That gives Zalae a lot of momentum.
Yeah. For Zalae, I think this turn is pretty straightforward. He needs to bash that Tolvir with his Heroic Strike and weapon, unfortunately, which will eat 8 damage, but at the same time his minion will still be alive, and he will be able to develop the Raider at the same time. So that's not that terrible. It's a 6/3 minion and a 3/1. But I don't think you can just let it live, you know?
Yeah, I think you have to use your Heroic Strike to kill it this turn. There's really no choice. It's a massive overkill, but at the same time, you can't afford not getting on the board and pushing face. I mean, you're pushing so much damage next turn anyway.
Exactly. So what's the draw? Another Tolvir, which will be able to pick up that Divine Shield next turn, because of the fact that the Glacier Shard is an elemental. And now, what Xixo can also do is just play the Glacier Shard on the board second time, because he knows his opponent is lacking a weapon. So there's no good way of killing it unless there's another weapon in his opponent's hand. But I think it's worth taking the risk here in this situation, or even maybe just, this is better. You freeze your opponent's face and kill the free one with your dagger. Because then you set up practically every single thing against most of the outcomes of your opponent apart from Corcoran Elite.
Yeah, Xixo's probably not expecting to take any damage, barring Arcanite Reaper or Corcoran Elite, so he's technically in a fine spot-ish. You know, he's not dead, but the problem is there are so many cards in that warrior deck to punish you. Like Fiery War Axe #2 doesn't seem like much, but it still represents buffed, a buffed weapon with Naga Corsair, with Bloodcell Cultist #2. There's the potential just Reaper on its own that's a threat, as it threatens your Tolvir Stone Shaper as well, if you're thinking about it that way. So it does many things at once. Zalae here just going to develop more Pirates. There's really nothing else that Xixo can do about this. Is this where you... just a miserable trade and trade, since you're getting patches out?
Then you can play the Tolvir and the Glacier Shard for the 5/4. So that's not terrible.
Yeah, kills the ping, so the shield is not going to be easy to get rid of.
I mean, that's his last minion to pop the quest off, right? But I feel like you need to play it this turn. How does your opponent kill it?
Moral Strike.
This is the only option.
Yeah.
That's the only way he can kill the Glacier Shard behind the Tolvir. So I think it has to be played right now.
I agree.
Then you have a bounce with Vanish next turn after attacking for 2 damage, and then you replay it.
And you can even play the Stone Shaper after that. So you have like 3 draws to find another Glacial Shard bouncer, basically, is what it's coming down to. And the fact that Zalae took damage here to pop the shield gives Xixo an even better reason to vanish.
Oh, that's a good point. No, but now it's kind of like... You know that if you're gonna vanish and replay the Glacier Shard is vulnerable to, well, Corcoran Elite.
Yeah, Corcoran, South Sea Deckhand, Moral Strike still, I mean, but that hasn't changed. That's still been the case. So we'll see if Xixo opts to replay the Shard here. I think he has to, just for the Tolvir purposes. At the very
exactly. Yeah, he needs the Tolvir next turn as well. So good choice. Ooh. But I don't think that's the good choice right now, because you know that Leroy is actually the minion that can kill in one swing Tolvir. And that's actually pretty important. So you have to plan around the Tolvir next turn, because you know you have to sacrifice 1 attack at least into the Divine Shield. So you want to set up as many minions as possible. So I wouldn't mind the Nagakosa, the Nagakosa and the Saucy Captain this turn. Just to have minions that are not easily killable. And then you can, if you're getting worried about your health totals, because they're getting kind of low, you can always use Captain to go into the Divine Shield, unless your opponent will kill it with his Glacier Shard and the Dagger, which is kind of fine, because that then takes free damage. Basically, the Captain gets a charge in the process. Like, you know, even with a cleave attack, it gets 2 targets in. But I really think that it's either Corcoran Elite or or the Nagakosa this turn. Has to be either one of those.
And it's going to be the biggest weapon generator in this case. Again, the Saucy Captain is probably going to be finding a little bit of value here. So Xixo looking to pick up a bouncer for that Glacial Shard. Does not find it. Can still play Novice Engineer. Maybe pick up Shadow Step to rebound that Shard.
But then it has to be Shadow Step.
Yeah. Unless you pick up another Vanish to reset this board once again. But then you're starting to take a lot of damage, man. You're starting to take a whole lot of damage.
Alright, so it actually happened what we talked about. The Glacier Shard is being sacrificed. And that's good for Zalae. It's actually one of the best outcomes. And he gets the Charger to get the Divine Shield off.
To be fair, though, the Ignis Elemental also spawns 2 Flame Elementals, which Xixo can also use to complete the quest. So in this case, left himself an out with the Igneous by having the Flame Elementals played early. In this case, it will not matter, as Xixo does get killed anyway by the Pirate Warrior in an expected bad matchup. To be fair, Xixo, despite double Tol'Vir, got completely shredded. And if you think about a world where those Tol'Virs don't show up, I'm not sure if it increases or lowers the win rate of the Rogue. Because on one hand, they find more bounces and more quest enablers, but on the other, they just take more damage.
I mean, you probably use those Tol'Virs instead of backsteps, right?
Right. So backstabs might have been...
Would it be more important? Probably no, because one Tol'Vir actually ate, I think, 9 damage. So that's not bad, actually, when you think about it. Zalae now with his Paladin, which rocks 2 Spikered Steeds and 2 Blessing of Kings.
This is one of the interesting lists that we've seen, because it's like the Murloc Paladin and the aggressive side, basically. It's running 6 1-drops, with the Tide Callers and the Grimscale Chums and the Valfin Inquisitors. So it increases the aggression, by quite a margin compared to the normal ones, which gives them a better matchup against Quest Rogue. As they're able to get on there much faster. But on the downside, it's of course more vulnerable to running out of steam if it picks up those Murlocs too late. So these 1-drops will not have too much of an impact later in the game. And the Tol'Vir Stone Shaper also, as a last point, is one of the best cards against Paladin. I mean, they just don't line up well against it at all.
Yep. Alright, Xixo commits into Coin Hero Power to get that Tide Caller off the board as soon as possible. If he's able to do that, even if there will be a Rockpool Hunter for the next turn, because he has access to Deckhand with patches. But in general, I feel like that's a really good move just to deal the amount of damage. Sorry, deal with the source of the damage as soon as possible. So I really like that decision. And he said it was actually board control as well.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of damage here going from Xixo into Zalae, so that doesn't seem like much, but that 2 damage that's being dealt, if it ever reaches the 26 mark, mitigates basically a full 5/5 worth of damage over the course of the game, because you're so much closer to just getting them killed. So it reduces the requirement for your minion count later in the game, and then you can use the 2/1 as a trading tool with your dagger if you want to slow down on turn 3, since every single minion the Paladin plays usually is going to be a 3/3. And Bowering Aldor, which we see here, usually you can trade that 2/1 away and get decent value.
So Xixo is 1 bounce away from getting the quest.
Well, he's got it if he wants it, right? With Igneous plus Firefly, bounce Firefly.
Yeah, but Igneous needs to die, right? I'm talking here about the deckhands in case
Correct.
He wants to bank, he wants to get the deckhand back into his hand, which is also valuable to have both deckhands in your hand instead of just having one being sacrificed. But at the same time, Ignis Elementals is super slow. So whenever you can play it on turn 3, I feel like it has to be played.
Yeah, I think this is one of those cases where even without Firefly, we might have just seen the Igneous. It sets up for Tol'Vir Stone Shaper, and the quest completion is very elemental focused in this type of deck. Oftentimes you'll be happy to get the Flame Elementals be your generators, because they're extra 5/5s at the end of the day. It's minion generation on top of quest completion. It's a lot of things at once.
Ooh, and a breath.
Oh man, look at this Tol'Vir!
That's pretty insane when you think about it.
This Tol'Vir is so disgusting against Paladin. Surely that's the play. What are the alternatives? I can't think of one that I like more.
Well, this
Unless
turn just play Tol'Vir,
quest.
and next turn you just... Next turn... Well, next turn is kind of hard to plan yet, because it might change a lot with your draw. But I definitely think that the Tol'Vir is just going to be played this turn, and next turn just going to play Firefly. Probably 1 or 2 of the Flame Elementals, and see what it goes next. But...
He
might
can
also
the quest
change.
on 6 here. Like, he can actually complete and play the quest on 6 if he wants to, or complete it on 5 if he just jams everything this turn. So it's down to how quick he wants to complete this, and it looks like he wants it now.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, he's committing to that because Zalae is not running Consecration, right? Let me check. Yes, there is no Consecration, so a very good decision by Xixo because of that fact.
Fair enough. So no Consecration actually changes the way you play this turn. Otherwise, Tolvir lined up perfectly, and you would not take that risk. But if you have the information, there's no Consec.
Yeah.
Good enough. Jam those 5/5s.
You exactly know what will gonna happen, and in this case, your opponent will kill 2, and you will still have 3 5/5s on the board next turn. That's pretty sick, if you ask me. So, doesn't look good for Zalae, and Xixo is looking decent to get the first win, and it's like, you know, in kind of unexpected fashion.
Does Zalae have Bluegill Warriors? Because if he does, there could be like a bit of a trading happening next turn. Because this Finja plus War Leader plus Rock Pool actually creates a 5-attack Finja,
Yes,
which
he
can
has
kill
Bluegill
one of the
Warriors.
5/5s.
He
Okay,
has
I see.
Bluegill Warriors in his deck. Yes.
All right. So this might actually give Finja some, I want to say, leverage on this board.
Well, if you want to commit into the prep and quest, you deal 20 damage this turn and freeze the Peacekeeper if you want to. Would you like that? I mean, you set up lethal for the next turn.
I kind of like it. Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, the punishments would be what? Spiker Steed? And even then, is it really a punishment?
I mean, you can kill Peacekeeper if you really want to, so you can freeze face and kill Peacekeeper. Interesting.
Yeah. No Consec. Hello, Paladin. Just back to square one. Tolvir Stoneshaper versus Paladin. Fantastic card. Just back to the basics.
Yeah, he just plays around. He just plays around the Finja, because there's no way that Tolvir just dies.
Well, it would have to be. What would it have to be? There's no way to deal damage to that ping, right? There's nothing you can send in.
Even if you get poisonous from the Megazord, there's no way of getting that damage in before to that Divine Shield.
That's correct.
So another good turn by Xixo.
Sets up lethal, straight up.
Yeah.
Just sets up 25 damage to push.
Exactly. And this all of those plays right now exist because of the fact that Xixo exactly knows what's happening with Zalae's deck. No Consecration, no Equality, no way of dealing damage to the Divine Shield, basically, apart from Bluegill Warrior. Okay, so that's the one. Okay, that would be.
Oh, there is a
one.
Bluegill Warrior in the deck, is there?
Yeah.
If there is, then that changes the way this turn might.
So this was the only way of dealing the damage. So if you would have the Bluegill Warrior, he would attack into the Divine Shield and then play Megazord for the Poisoners. That would have been the only out.
Fair enough. All right, so Zalae had a slight chance here. Xixo did not see it come up, and is simply going to assume it's not going to be there, or at least justifies the play by saying it's not worth playing around. Bluegill plus Megazord is so specific, I shouldn't worry about it. And Zalae will be down to his Murloc Paladin as well as the Quest Rogue, up against a Burn Mage and Xixo's own mid-range Paladin. This one with only 4/1 drops, so a little bit less aggressive, which means potentially slower, of course.
Potentially slower, but at the same time, if you have like a really good draw, it doesn't really matter. Alright, let's see what's gonna happen. And I lost my vision. Never mind, I've got it back.
Well, Zalae's on the Quest Rogue against Burn Mage, Secret Mage that is, so Xixo will have a better matchup here than elsewhere. Zalae was trying to get that Paladin in his sights. He knows his deck contains Hungry Crab, and he was thinking, hey, if I can just line this up, I can get a free win on the back of eating up Murlocs. In this case, not really anything he finds. Picks up double Mimic Pod. I guess that's insurance. You're not going to find the second one off of the first one, but...
We have seen that yesterday.
Ooh, okay.
Well, if he gets a really good Mimic Pod on turn 2 into a really good Mimic Pod on turn 3, this might change the entire match.
Yeah, there is a counter spell on Xixo's side, though, so that's something to keep in mind. We know that that's a card that's very popular in those Secret Mage decks, and they tend to disrupt the Rogue's plan, because they either counter something like the Quest or Shadow Step, so those tend to be kind of the only spells that this deck plays anymore. So Mimic Pod is a good candidate to maybe pitch into it, or the coin if you don't feel like you need the tempo gain from it. So we'll see Zalae probably play around that counterspell quite a little bit.
But it's different than against Orange, because Orange played 2 counterspells, and Zalae is only and Xixo is playing only 1. So in this case, that coin might have value against that counterspell, but it might not have the value. So it's a difficult choice to make. It was way more obvious against Orange.
We have many secrets.
All right, well, Xixo is playing like it's not counterspell. This might just give Zalae like the info. Yeah, he just played it recklessly into the coin. Most likely, it's not a counter spell. And the other options are Ice Block, Mirror Entity, Spellbender. So even if it checks for Mirror Entity, there's still an option that there's a Spellbender. Fortunately for him, I don't think that matters, because he has no way of damaging a minion or targeting it. Oh wait, it actually works on Shadow Step, right? No, it doesn't. What I'm talking
Spellbender does work on Shadow Step.
Does it? It should.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Okay, so it works against Shadow Step.
Yeah, it's a good counter to Shadow Step, incidentally. Zalae just checks for counterspell. Wants to make sure nothing goes wrong. Let's see. Let's see this. So he knows it's not Mirror Entity, he knows it's not counterspell, so now he's looking at that Spellbender like, huh, I see what you're doing there, Xixo. And I'm not gonna fall for it. I refuse.
Ooh!
That is sick! That is so
the
sick!
Best card apart from Shadow Step that he can get.
That was so sick of Zalae picking up that Glacial Shard from the Mimic Pod. What a draw.
Yeah, it's definitely devastating. Like, having the access to almost infinite Glacier Shards is helping you so much to achieve the quest. Incredible to get that out of Mimic Pod. Basically, Shadow Step and Glacier Shards are the 2 cards you always want to get out of Mimics. And in this case, it's less important than against Warriors, but it's still fantastic. It allows you just to, you know, keep in check that current turn Mage for ages. Or the Arcanist.
Yeah, the fact that you have a second copy of it is a really big deal. Xixo knows that it was Mimic Podded because he pays attention to the hand's textures, of course. So he knows that this Glacial Shard, there's a second one where that one came from. Hopes that there's no minion bouncer because he can intercept the Shadow Steps, but he can't really intercept the Ferryman or the Brewmaster. Now Zalae's gonna have some thinking to do. He's on 1 quest completion. There's an Novice Engineer that showed up as well, so that's something else to consider.
Well,
you know?
he will be aiming at completing the quest with the Glacier Shard.
Undoubtedly, yeah.
But the problem is he needs to play around the Spellbender, right? So we can check with the Shadow Step first, see if that's the Spellbender or not, and then follow it up with the Brewmaster. So here you go. Shadow Step on the 1/3.
Which is returning it to Xixo's hand. At least he can replay it next turn, but at the end of the day, it's not too bad. So 0 mana 1/3. Cost you 0 with the tempo from the Kirin Mage. Also forced Zalae to check for multiple secrets during the game, which he managed to do quite efficiently, at least.
Yeah. But in this case, he is not able to play the Glacier Shard again because that needs to be kept for another bounce. And now Xixo is looking like this might be the good turn to play Counterspell. So Sorcerer's Apprentice with Counterspell and the Frostbolt or one of the glyphs is actually routing pretty convenient. He can also go for the glyphs to just go for other secrets.
Yeah, that's true. There could be a counterspell in there on his own if he managed to find that. Depending on how he wants to sequence things, could play the unexpected secret. So that means he's not playing Glyph, because otherwise you start with Glyph, that way if you pick up a counterspell from it, then you play that one instead.
Yeah, I like this play. This is like the first thing that comes to mind. And I like it because it sets up an aggressive board. And second of all, that our Sorcerer's Apprentice will live, well, like 100%, unless there will be a deckhand, but at the same time the deckhand probably will go into the current turn Mage. It's 1 damage different, but with 2 cards in hand, those might not even be spells. or even just one, right? So it's not that big of a deal, and it's kind of horrible when you see it's 2 glyphs, but what can you do, right? But it's not just the most natural turn for Xixo, and I like it a lot.
Zalae does pick up his deckhand, which means that the 1/1 and his dagger together can clean up the 3/2 and that 4/2 as Patches comes out. So now there's the question of, do I value my patches as a 5/5 later? And I think the answer to that usually in this case is going to be something like, I have to find more bounces to win the game, or I'm just going to lose. So I think he's going to just be under so much pressure.
Completely forgot about the patches. You have a good point.
Yeah, I mean, he can get value out of it, but it's not, like, the problem is he's still far behind, right? Because playing Glacial Shard here is not realistic, because you just lose by losing your last Glacial Shard, which means unless the Wisp basically becomes your completion tool, so it has to be the deckhand into dagger into pass and take all this damage. Oh, extremely powerful draw there for Xixo if he picks up another spell.
Well, Great Arcane Missile is not bad. That is just 9 damage most likely before quest completion. But at the same time, I feel like I'll be looking for another secret to just get that 7/7 minion, even bigger, and require that Glacier Shard to be played.
You have gotta be kidding me! This is so sick.
I like that Xixo didn't snap pick it. He was just thinking about it for like few seconds. So he doesn't give the info, yeah, it is counterspell, like 100%.
He kept it back a little bit, still plays the secret, still gets the 5/5 for free, and then gets to connect the 7/7 that grows to a 9/9 at the end of the turn. So he's effectively setting up a lethal in this spot with the Fireball.
Ooh.
The following turn.
Well, that would be a good card if there would be no counterspell in hand. On board, sorry.
I mean, when Zalae plays the Mimic Pod, or the Vanish and run straight into counterspell, he's gonna feel real sad. No Mirror Entity.
Yeah.
He's going for the Vanish then, that's what this means. And the counterspell is gonna snap it up. And then Zalae is gonna be at the mercy of a Mage's 9/9, 5/5, 1/2, and hand. So Zalae not expecting to make it out alive, and he is correct indeed. He is gonna have to die.
Man, those glyphs were nuts.
Yeah.
Counterspell and Fireball.
Seems good against Quest Rogue.
Yeah. Well, it's 2-1 for Xixo now, and he is left with his mid-range, aggro-ish mid-range druid, Paladin, against Rogue and Paladin from Zalae. Let me just take a look at Xixo's deck list. Let's see what
it runs Pyromancers in that deck. So
yeah,
that's,
he has 1 equality.
Yes.
1 Pyromancer and 1 Consecration. That's the trademark of it. Other than that, it's pretty standard. 1 Kodo, because it's a great answer against opponent's Finjas. I feel like that's one of the main reasons you have that Kodo in your deck. It's pretty decent against Doomsayers as well, if there will be any, in the metagame. And against basically all the Murlocs without Wall Eaters on board, it's also decent. So there's a few targets for that Kodo, so it might be pretty good.
Yeah, you can usually snipe like a little bit of a tiny bit of. There's a slight chance that you find something you can kill with that Kodo. It's not like the matchup where you're looking to get it done. So Zalae here though keeps the Hungry Crab in the opening hand, clearly looking for a good kill on this. He might be, I don't know, like how you, if you ever consider that as going for a kill on the War Leader, just let the opponent coin it out or get the Rockpool Hunter out before you Hungry Crab. The tempo of the Hungry Crab is technically the best thing you're ever going to get, and you can bounce it on the following turn, so there's no real threat of it dying. So I'd be tempted to keep the Hungry Crab, but you're also revealing it, which, if you can wait for extra bouncers, can give you more value later on.
I like this, though.
Sure.
Like, there's no way that Xixo will do anything on this with this board. So, in this case, you'll get the damage in, and you're looking into probably just bouncing the Hungry Crab and just getting the quest out of the Hungry Crab,
I'm looking at this, and it's like the Glacial Shard prevents a coin Choose-Over champion from killing your crab. So there's that. You can get the value trade instead if you'd rather.
That's a good point.
And then freeze the enemy face. You're playing into Consec a lot harder though, like really, really hard.
Yeah,
he
and
plays
that's
Consecration,
quite terrible. I feel like this might be just the case of Brewmaster on the Hungry Crab. Yeah, exactly, and just attack face. It still sets up for a good Consecration. Getting rid of that Glacier Shard has to make Xixo a little bit happy. Oh,
Yeah.
Now he's looking into Crucible championing. Which is not bad
So
at all as
you'd
well.
be delaying your Finja turn by a little bit. Which,
But
you know, Finja doesn't seem good because you're thinking, oh, Hunger Crab's there. But the truth is, it's the best amount of tempo you're ever going to get out of your Murlocs this game. It's going to be through a Finja kill. So the alternative would be to play into the Crab with the War Leader, force it out, then kill it with True Silver to bait it so that he doesn't complete the quest with it. So it would have to be a bait play, which Zalae undoubtedly would be very wary of once he sees the War Leader played as just a 3-mana 3/3.
Okay, well,
Goodness.
Xixo by not attacking just says, yeah, I have Consecration. I have Equality Pyromancer. So give him more minions before I'll do anything else.
Yeah, Zalae will be reading into this. There's a big tell.
Yeah. There's no way he will just play any card this turn.
Concept comes out, freeing up the way for a Stampede and Coda that can be played to kill one of the, for now, small minions in the Rogue deck. Oh, there we go. We could complete the quest through Glacial Shard if we choose to. Get that bounce on and prevent the True Server from connecting. Can be an extra step towards that completion, but Zalae is still on the I'm going to kill all the Murlocs plan and wait to see what else I find.
What a weird game. It's weird because Xixo knows there's the Hungry Crab and he can't really do anything about it. And while Zalae might just be playing the stall game and just wait till he actually finishes up the quest the same turn he will play any minion. Like, there's no reason to play anything right now.
You could play Gadsden Ferryman on its own if you'd like. I mean, if there's a Spiker Steed, that is, I mean, you can still Hungry Crab everything off the board, which isn't the end of the world. It's
if you want to bait
awkward,
out, if you want to bait out anything, I feel like I would just rather play the Glacier Shard and just bait out the attack from Finja and then use Hungry Crab with 2 bounces. Although maybe with 1 bounce because you need the 3rd one for the quest completion.
I really like the Glacial Shard just because you've got Vanish to replay with it next turn. Like, you can go Glacial Shard, phase, Vanish, remove all the Murlocs, send them back to hand, set them up to die to Hungry Crab. Like, this Glacial Shard is just a perfect target given the weapon sitting in Xixo's hand right now. It's just looking really sweet. I mean, that's a lot of Murlocs you're throwing back out, and they cost a lot. When they come out of Finja for free, that's all cute, but when you have to pay to put them out individually against a Hungry Crab that could potentially get bounced, it's a lot less appealing. Alright, let us see what Xixo picks up. A Hydrologist and a Valfin Inquisitor. Reasonable Murlocs to have on the board if you could just keep them there. So, since you assume Hungry Crab comes out, then you just get blown up. Those Murlocs are not looking particularly good, but they're your best shot at winning. But for the time being, Xixo's still hopeful that things go his way. So, Shard into Vanish.
I guess so. That seems pretty insane, actually.
What's the alternative? Hungry Crab, Youthful Brew, Hungry Crab, set up the Vanish for later? You could complete your quest much faster by just Glacial Sharding and Vanishing, I think.
So he's 3 out of 4 on quest, right?
I think Shard's been played twice. I don't want to lie.
It was played 10-1, and it was played twice to freeze something after that, I think.
It was played last turn, I think. That's it. Like, just
I'm not sure,
once
actually.
last turn.
Oh, it's 2 out of 4. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Pretty sure it's only 2 out of 4, so he has to go for Shard into Vanish into Shard Quest on 8, which leaves him with a little bit of mana spare. He's going to have 2 mana open to maybe play Hungry Crab to eat a Murloc or Stone Tusk board to take a trade. So that's kind of the obvious line that's visible to me here. All right, looks like we're gonna go for the Hungry Crab completion. We see so many Murlocs. We just rather eat them up. Okay. Hungry Crab also at 2 out of 4 for the time being. So Zalae counting on that Brewmaster to help complete the quest is what this tells me.
And what a weird game. What a weird game.
I think the Glacial Shard line was also quite good since you kept the crab anyway. But they're both viable options. The thing is, this Hungry Crab is now requiring that your opponent plays his Murlocs back on, which, you know, then he can't hero power for the rest of the game. This Hungry Crab is in there. So either he plays all the Murlocs or plays none of the Murlocs.
I feel like you have to commit to all the Murlocs. It's already too late. You just can't go for one target unless it's like a Tyrion or a Rag, but that's just not enough mana this turn. So committing to Finja most likely with another Hydrologist.
There's an argument to just go all in. It's like all the Murlocs or none of the Murlocs. That's the way I see this entire game developing. It's like if Hungry Crab has to bounce itself 7 times, then, you know, so be it. That takes up all the opponent's mana, so without prep, he can't complete the quest. The issue is when you play too few Murlocs, and Hungry Crab becomes super effective. Yeah, just mitigating the effectiveness of the Hungry Crab by offering too much to eat. And look at that, right? Zalae is kind of in a spot where he wants to play the Hungry Crab, but at the same time, he can't complete quests as he does that. So, well, never mind. I lied. Clearly. He's going to be able to complete that next turn. This is the fear of Megasaur with +3 attack. We're going to have to eat up those Murlocs.
That's so weird. What would it... But at the same time, I would like to get the draw as soon as possible. I'm not sure if I would actually not just start with the Novice Engineer.
He's not playing it this turn. That's basically it. I would have maybe waited 1 extra turn, but I can see him being afraid of losing to the Megasaur blowout. One of the few things, the few ways he loses, I guess.
Double Megasaur blowout might be actually just game winning, right? If that happens. Yeah, I can see that being a factor here. Well, he will have most likely 1 guy on board, like minimum. Maybe not. The 1 Primordial Drake, because that's kind of silly. There's only 1 Primordial Drake in Xixo's deck. And Zalae just didn't play around it, and I like that fact, because he knows that there's only one card in the entire deck left that can deal with a board like that, because there's only 1 Consecration, there's only one Primordial Drake, 1 Equality, and one Pyromancer. So there's not really a lot of options when it comes to killing your entire board.
And Zalae now just finally got the quest online. That means he's got the ability to play that boar, attack twice with it, bounce it back. Honestly, the options abound. So his weakest, I guess, the weakest outcome he might run into is like a Sunkeeper Tareem. So to protect against it, you don't really worry about that Drake too much for the time being, and you just keep digging into your deck for more minions. I still don't doubt that he's going to see... Well, we might see the Stone Tusk boar into Shadow Step play, but maybe there's consideration for something else. Yeah, seems good. Equality does not kill you for now unless it's accompanied by Wild Pyromancer, and Xixo is sitting on exactly neither of these outcomes. So now no more Hungry Crab. Means that the Finja can come back out at some point. Oh, that's a Kodo clear. Can kill 2 minions this turn. Aldor Kodo gets rid of 2 minions, and the True Silver can finish off the boar, putting Xixo at 18 health. Effectively 13 with the Novice Engineer still left on board. I mean, the Ferryman still left on board, so he would effectively need to take 2 chargers to the face to die immediately. He's got Rag Lightlord to stabilize after that. He's got Sunkeeper Tareem. There's a chance Xixo makes it out alive is Zalae's follow-up draws aren't particularly good.
And if Xixo draws a quality Pyromancer, that's what he would really like to get.
Yeah.
Wow. He just commits into less removal-based.
I mean, it leaves him with
play.
more health, though, right? Because the other way around left him at 13 effective. Now this leaves him at 16 effective. So it's a tiny bit better, but it's worse against bounces when the opponent gets to bounce the novice and draw more. So the Kodo play was better to prevent redraws, but the Rag play is better to force, double trade, so you're left at 26. Then the opponent has to kill it.
I don't feel like you need to commit into double trades here. Because your opponent will be left with damaged minions at some point. Although maybe not that many. Because there will be smaller than a 5/5 minion from Zalae. So maybe you're actually right, and in this case Zalae will commit the double trade. Huh.
That gives Xixo an opening to win, though, right? Like,
Yes,
Zalae can
exactly.
go for the... The thing is, if you full push, it's so awkward. It's just like I was saying, I feel like the only way Xixo got in trouble is if Chargers came up, and that meant bouncing the Novice. Now, in this case, there was another draw by Zalae of the Novice Engineer, so it wouldn't have mattered, but there was a good chance that there was simply none. So, would
Right,
really like
double
to just
trade.
see him smash.
Still sets up a really threatening board. 20 damage on it. That's a lot.
So Xixo still has the Aldor Kodo play available to him, which clearly isn't very good in this spot, because suddenly your minions are dead on board, they're not really trading at all, you have no more Consecrations and Drakes, so you're not really killing anything else. That is a bit of a dry hand for Xixo. Could just rely on Tarim to make this happen. You could get away Kodo with Hydrologist, get the Tarim back. Yeah, Tarim is actually is particularly effective if you end up getting him back with Getaway Kodo. Especially with double Hydrologist, you get like 2 free turns of this.
Too bad he cannot set up a good way of eye for an eye. Because his opponent is not low enough. And this is awkward.
Xixo's thinking about that Aldor Kodo instead of Tarim and Getaway Kodo, but I feel like the Getaway Kodo plus Tarim is just strictly better in most cases, and that's what he's going to go for. The obvious play is sometimes just the better play.
Well, this is awkward. I guess what you can do is push the deckhand into Tarim, sacrifice your Igneous and Elemental, get the trade, get that Kodo back. I mean, most likely get away Kodo to your opponent's hand. Then you push for the damage of the free minions. You can think about the Ferryman trading with the 3/3, and you keep the Vanish for the next turn, so you can get back to the Charger as well.
Yep. Vanish is
Ferryman-
not sufficient to win the game on its own, though.
Yeah, but
If you just push face, you win with Vanish on the following turn.
I'm not sure about pushing face with everything, because I would like to prevent... Oh, he uses the Vanish right now. Okay, makes sense, because
Yeah.
he can push with another 5 damage this turn.
Yep.
Or just put a minion.
The fact that he gets the
doesn't have
Wisp is
charge.
actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's way better. I was just thinking, like, if he doesn't want to play Vanish, he most likely will need to trade, so he doesn't lose the charge minions. But in this case, the Vanish has just more value because it gets back the charge minions into your hand, and plays around the Tarim at the same time. So definitely good play by Zalae.
Xixo looking into the equality and what it can do. Unfortunately, he might realize that it just cannot do very much. So while on paper you'd like to get that minion, that spell out, without Pyromancer you're not accomplishing anything. You know the opponent has 10 damage in the form of Chargers in hand with the extra bounce from the Gadsden Ferryman. So we're probably going to go back to Sunkeeper Tarim here and hope for the best. Noble Sacrifice can soak up some damage here. Either prevent the last ping of the weapon with a 3/3. With double 3/3 plus weapon usually kills your Tarim here. You'd be soaking up one of these hits, more likely than not. So Your Tarim takes an extra source of damage, but unless Zalae butchers this, he still gets away with it.
The victory is yours.
And Xixo just knows it.
Xixo knows it's over. I mean, the opening was decided by the Hungry Crab. The Hungry Crab getting the bite on the Tide Caller just made everything so awkward for Xixo. He was really counting on the Tide Caller getting damage in just to get the ball rolling, get the synergies done, play the Rockpool Hunter, the Wall Eater, maybe some Megazords in the future. But at the same time, the Hungry Crab destroyed that entire game plan. And that's the reason why the Wall Eater was not even played in this game. And imagine like turn 2 Wall Eater with Tide Caller on board. That would have been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there was the option for Zalae to slow down, right? He could have just waited to see if there was a 3-drop Murloc that came alongside everything to eat it up, but shows the very cautious Hungry Crabs during the game. There were a few turns where he had the option open of Hungry Crab for the win or Glacial Shard for the quest. He had many avenues to complete it and simply ended up going with the repeated bounce on the shard at the end of the day. Worked out super well for him, and now we're going to see him on the Murloc Paladin aggro. More 1-drops than his opponent, usually gives the edge on the opening hand, at least, to Zalae. But we've seen how things can change. These matchups are extremely volatile.
My microphone didn't want to mute out. I mean, you know, couldn't take it off. Alright, well, in this case, it's kind of awkward because there's no way of Zalae taking back that Tide Caller, and that spells trouble. If you play your own Tide Caller, you're almost guaranteed that it's gonna be dead next turn, so he has to just commit to the hero power and just hope there's no Rockpool Hunter. Even if it is, then it will take just 2 minions of your opponent, at least, so that's something. But he will still have the board advantage, and then you still can't play the Tide Caller, and you're still punished by having to hero power again. Unless you go for the Peacekeeper, maybe that's just good, a Tempo Peacekeeper on a 2-3 minion. So there's really so many different ways of dealing with the situation here.
No, we usually see Aldor Peacekeeper being used as a tempo 3-3 in the matchup, barring the very late stages of the game. So no big surprises here. I expect Zalae to do the same thing, just return the favor by Aldoring himself, and then possibly getting Aldored all the way back, with Xixo playing on curve his second 3-3. So that would give him the ability to fight on board against the enemy's Aldor. In this case, it's kind of interesting because there's a huge back and forth until the first player finds like Blessing of Kings, Truce of Our Champion. Those are really the big swing cards that will turn the tide in one player's favor.
Well, I guess we'll see the Peacekeeper back to back. Allows you to have a Murloc before turn 4, which is great for potential Megazord or a Wool Eater, which allows to trade with the Peacekeeper, and probably because of that, Xixo will just attack into the Inquisitor with his own Peacekeeper, and then will play his another Peacekeeper. So Peacekeeper into Peacekeeper into Peacekeeper, back to back to back. Seems like the play.
And that's going to be the card you just talked about. The Megazord is a huge deal here. Zalae picks up the turn 4 play. You know, the biggest problem with this game so far for both players has been they've not been able to really turn the tide. I mean, it's very early in the game, but usually one of them has a foothold on the board at that point. They've got the Murlocs. They're ready to transition to their buffing turns. In this case, it's been a lot of non-Murloc tempo plays from the Aldor Peacekeepers, and we've been looking for a swing play on either side. So we've been looking for Truce of Our Champion, a Megazord that gives 3 attack or poisonous. Pick your choice, and in this case, it will indeed give Zalae the edge back, and there is no Murloc on Xixo's side, which means that Megazord is a little bit stranded. So barring Xixo picking up Truce of Our Champion or Wild Pyromancer to try to extract value on the following turn, this is going to start getting really weird for Xixo.
Well, this is awkward. He needs to get a Truce of a Champion to get back on the board. That would be so helpful. That tempo gain from turn 4 and turn 5 swings will allow him to get back on the board as soon as possible, and that's really needed. In this case, I'm not really sure if it's worth the attack into the Peacekeeper, because you just put it in range of a Consecration. So
Well,
you
that's
lose
fine
one
if they
damage.
consecrate that turn, I guess.
Yeah, but
'cause
it's,
if,
you lose one damage, right? So it's fine for you. There's no other synergy for the Peacekeeper otherwise.
yeah, I guess you still have to kill it before turn 6 though, because
Oh yeah,
so
right.
as long as it
That's a good
stays
point.
healthy, Finja can still snipe it, which is I guess the big upside in this spot. As long as it doesn't die, Finja eats it up. So that's the setup for the Finja. Leaving it alive, I think, is trying to just get that Murloc summon value for Zalae. Wouldn't be surprised to just see him trade here, prevent value trade, get a good Finja at the ready, and wonder if we'll see Xixo use a kind of a weird defensive equality. I doubt it, because he's got the equality Consec in the deck, equality Pyro. Those cards are all going to be able to clean up those Murlocs, barring Megasaur. Oh, well, there you go. Oh, Finja to Finja. Classic.
Interesting situation. Now, back to back. So it all depends.
Well,
Depends. What
depends
will
on
you
what.
get? If you get War Leaders out of your Finja, that makes it so powerful, because you can play your own Terran then, and still get the buffs.
Let me
Otherwise, you could
Ah.
start with Tight Collar. The issue with that is, of course, if you get War Leader, then you ruined your plan of playing Terran. No War Leader.
No War Leader. Well, that's awkward. So I guess
Jam
now,
all the Murlocs.
I guess you can just jam Tight Collar and then Oracle. Seer. But this looks fine as well. I mean, how do you kill that guy with your Finja? You need to sacrifice that one equality that you have in your deck.
Yeah, and
I've-
you're still never keeping your Finja on the back of this, so maybe just a counter Spiker Steed.
Yeah,
That's
and not
easy.
attack, right? you
And
don't
then you
attack, not
replay it on the
lose.
next turn.
Exactly.
Yikes.
It's still a lot of damage going to your face, and you will still not kill that Peacekeeper next turn, even if you double Spiker
Yep.
Steed.
There could be an argument in favor of equality now into Spiker Steed on the following turn. So that way you get to kill a Peacekeeper next turn with Finja, summon a bunch of stuff. But that seems extremely odd. It's too weak. The equality is worth so much in that deck. It's worth
Yep.
so much. It's kind of a waste to pitch it on this kind of board when you can't clear with Pyromancer or Consecration. I feel like Xixo's setting himself up to find that Drake, setting himself up to find that AoE clear, keeping equality for the best time possible.
Would you commit to with the Cold Light Seer then? I think I would. Like, you have 4 minions on board, you have 3 spaces basically. So what you can do is Tight Collar, Seer, guarantee that you're not, your minions will not die to a Consecration. And you can still use Hero Power, so get that out. All of those minions will now have more than 2 HP. And you will still have Finja on board with 5, so that is really awkward to Xixo to deal with. Like,
It's really down to equality Pyro, equality clear. Like, that's basically
Yeah.
what Xixo's on. He's been on the back foot since the beginning of the game, since the Murlocs started being slammed down. And Paladin tends to, have those outcomes be very frequent, where one player just has a clear edge. So, barring an
okay.
AoE play here, Xixo's just going to be keeling over. Does not pick it
Interesting.
up, but he
But-
finds a way to kill the Aldor, and possibly buff one of the Murlocs that's remaining after that. He gets the Stegodon to stall. So, is there any blue gill in that deck? I don't believe so.
Wait, how do you want to kill it?
Oh, you have to
'Cause-
equality to even clear, and
Yeah,
then you have
but
to buff a Murloc
then-
to go all in, because everything's at 1 health. So the issue is if Stegodon does not carry you, you're just dead to all the Murlocs on board.
That's so awkward.
Yep.
I feel like, yeah, you have to just play the second Spiker Steed. Attack.
Make a big Finja.
Make a big Finja that will get sacrificed by the attacks.
I mean, you could literally just play Spiker Steed and not oh no, you have to attack to unstealth. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. That's
My
the
bad.
problematic thing.
I thought you
But
could
at
just
the same
toggle it
time-
off for a second. I'm like, I'll just toggle off the stealth and make the guys the big taunter. Never mind. You gotta weaken him.
But now Tarim helps a lot. All right, so what can be done is Zalae can. Let's think. What's the best ordering here because it's not that obvious. That Finja will spawn 2/6 minions if it will die. So it's still better because you need to sacrifice one of your minions to play Tarim. So you sacrifice one of the Murlocs. You play Tarim then? I guess so.
And then you have to trade away one of your 3/3s away.
You still need to make space from Finja. For Finja, right? So you need to sacrifice 2 minions right now. The
you can only
Tidecore-
sacrifice the one though.
Oh yeah, right. You can only one.
So you can make room for a bit of stuff, but since there's 2 Stegodons coming out of that, of that Finja. Yeah.
I was thinking maybe that's the reason why you wanted to play Tarim for the Stegodons instead of the Finja itself.
But you had the Kings then, right?
Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah,
awkward.
that was kind of. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that was necessarily the best line of play. Again, this is the way that Xixo finds to kill the other Peacekeeper here. Is able to set it up with the Inquisitor he played last turn. The problem is that now Xixo, with no AoE, finds himself stranded on inequality, has nothing left over. There is no Consec, no saving grace with a Drake coming at the last second. This has all been a very, very dreadful day for him. And now, this hand is leading nowhere, no matter how you spin it. A rip.
Well, that's it. Zalae takes the outer game, and now he will play against Thais in the winners match, while Xixo is being knocked out and knocked out to the other losers bracket, where he will play against Colento, and that will be the elimination match. Still, Zalae can or Thais can lose one game and still battle it out and get to that one sweet spot in the Kiev land. But that's about it. Today is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, we got one spot to give away. So whoever ends up making it all the way to the finals and winning that finals is going to make it through. There's not going to be a double chance for the guy in the winner's bracket, as he's fighting, I think, one less match. He needs to win twice, and then he's just sitting there, whereas the other ones have to, lose once and then win twice more in the loser's bracket to come back up. So end up playing one extra match. That being said, we'll be taking a short break, and we'll be right back with the next match. Don't go anywhere.